How is everybody doing? And welcome back for another Strength Chat episode. Today, I've got a returning guest. Absolute awesome episode last time, and now she's actually your back-to-back Sheffield champion. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Agata Sitko. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm just getting ready for my primary SBD today. Sipping on my third coffee already.
Nice. That's a good record. Although, what time will it be over with you? Will it be 11 o'clock?
Yep.
Ah, right, okay. You're beating me then. I've only had two coffees so far today, and I'm training a little bit later. But yeah, I suppose first of all, congratulations on your performance at Sheffield this year. I wasn't able to attend, but I was watching live through YouTube. I suppose, yeah. How does it feel to be back to back champion? How did you find Sheffield this year?
So that's the, I would say, annoying part about this year. I didn't really enjoy the fact that I won because I was mad after failing to lift and I didn't really hit the numbers I was thinking about. And I suppose that because the competition wasn't really close this year, it just didn't feel like an achievement. Like it didn't feel earned. So it felt much different than last year. Last year, getting off the platform after my third pull, I was so emotional. I shed a tear. You could see the happiness and the pride. And this year, I was just pissed off. And I'm a little bit upset with myself because of that, because I didn't really let myself enjoy this competition and really take in the fact that I'm the first ever athlete to win Sheffield back to back. So
Yeah, because I know from being there live in person last year and seeing, your emotion was like really good to see. You could see how much it meant to you. I suppose one question would be obviously building up into the competition. Kind of stand out favorite if you like going in. How did that play a part in terms of what you were thinking about training? Did it impact, did you feel under pressure to perform, or how did you kind of feel in the build up to it?
I wouldn't say I mean, of course, the pressure to win again was huge because like people were talking about this possibly happening. But at the same time, I just knew my strength is where I needed to be. And we thought that Evie and Sonita would be big threats for first place, but they would both have to do something insane to beat me. So I wouldn't say I felt a lot of pressure because I just knew it could end up being pretty easy winning again. But yeah, I was still, of course, putting my all into this prep. And I'm proud of myself because this was like, I've never been this locked in for this long before. So that was great.
Yeah, nice. And with that, because especially you said a little bit earlier about it maybe not feeling earned. Did you, and it's kind of like crazy to think about, for the competition that it is. Did you not feel going into it that it was a challenge? Because, some of the numbers that you've said there, you didn't hit the numbers that you wanted to hit. Was it a case of a thought as though, because it may be, you won, convincingly, knowing that they would, someone else would have to do something insane, that you didn't see it as that much of a bigger challenge. You just needed to kind of execute on the day, if that makes sense.
So I would say that I it all happened on the day. So before going into Sheffield, I wasn't thinking that it was gonna be like just an easy cruise for it. But on the day, seeing everyone else's performance, how much they missed, and what they ended up totaling, it just made it feel like there wasn't really a battle. Going into deadlifts, we already knew that it's pretty much done. Like no one can even try to go for first place, and that's why I feel like it just didn't feel the same.
Yeah. And is that, I bet that must be quite a strange feeling compared to last year, knowing
Yeah.
that it's kind of in the bag, because how did you did that impact you going out for your deadlifts then in terms of like, wanting to actually go for it? Because, I'm a big believer in everybody's got that competitive streak in them and everyone loves that challenge. Did that kind of impact how you went into deadlifts or went into your final deadlift?
I wouldn't really say so because we had like an ambitious plan on mind. We loaded the 84 kilo deadlift world record for my third pull, and the goal for me was to get close to what Amanda's gonna total. So yeah, I wanted to total around 5 to 10 kilos within what she does. That didn't work out, obviously. But I feel like going for my third pull, I was just getting ready, getting hyped up, and then there was an attempt change, and Sonita was going out before me. So I already had the beat drop. I started smelling the salts, and I was just about to go out on the platform, and they were like, "No, no, attempt change." So
Ah,
that kind of threw me off a little bit before that final pull. And I feel that last year I also knew that I already won before going out for my third pull. But it was about hitting 600, being the first 69 to hit that total, and that probably just meant a lot more, I guess.
yeah. And with that, because I can imagine that's quite off-putting, with the attempt change in there. And there was a lot of talk of the battle, if you like, between you and Amanda Lawrence. Did you enjoy that on the day? Did you like that as kind of like an extra level or an extra layer of interest from? Because I know from a fan, a spectator, a powerlifter myself, I did find that quite interesting. How did you find that into the build up and then on the day that battle with Amanda?
Honestly, it ended up being closer than I expected because with my opener deadlift, I believe I was 5 kilos ahead of Amanda, and I knew she was going to take bigger jumps, but still, like her third pull was pretty heavy, and it's a little bit of a controversial pull, I would say, with her lockout. So
Mhm.
it ended up being pretty close, and that makes me really excited for the future battles.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because there was that underlying thought of it, and you could, that was, I don't know whether you've watched it back or anything, but on the commentary watching it, because obviously live there wouldn't have been the commentary there. That was something that was kept saying, because you could see the scoreboard and you could see the attempts coming in, which made it quite interesting. And on a little bit of a tangent though, it was interesting to see that for a powerlifting competition, because having that commentary, it's quite rare. And going back again to Sheffield, going in as the favourite, did you feel as though there was anything off-putting in terms of the I can't think of the phrase afterwards, but like the interviews afterwards, and the hype around it, and doing the bit basically like the social media content or everything? Or are you pretty good at dealing with that, and it's actually a fun new thing to do compared to other competitions?
I'd say it's pretty fun. To be honest, when we did that live interview with the White Lights Media, we were all just on like 2 hours of sleep, super tired, and I feel like you could say the energy wasn't like we all were low on energy, but it was pretty fun talking about it. But like, yeah, with people being super excited about my performance and saying all those things, and me being so disappointed, it felt a little bit tough because on one hand, I didn't want to say that, like constantly talk about how disappointed I am, because after all, I did win again, and I should be proud of that. But at the same time, I just couldn't say that it was a good performance, because to me, it didn't feel like a good day at all, and that was probably the hardest part for me. But I've quite enjoyed posting stuff on social media after Sheffield. That was pretty fun for me.
Yeah, and I know the kind of two things from there. the first thing would be like, did you have a little bit of a celebration, or was it kind of just straight into training again, or back into routine? And then I suppose the other question would be is how have you found the response, from, mentioning, disappointed in the win, but still winning. How have you found, or what has the response have you found from, the powerlifting world? You saying that because I've got a rugby background, and sometimes, you can win a game but not play very well, but you've still won. And it's like, oh yeah, we've still run, but there's always a taint of like, well, we could have done better, we could have played better. If you win by a point, but you've still won the rugby game. And sometimes it's that case of, when you win, there's a certain emotion that people feel should be attached with that. How have you found the response from what you've said about Sheffield?
So I think there are like two types of responses. One would be trying to convince me that it was a good day and I should be happy about it and proud of myself. And the other one was like, yeah, I love the fact that you can do something crazy like this and still be disappointed. And honestly, I like the second one better because it acknowledges the fact that you don't have to feel proud of yourself after doing something that might seem like a great achievement for others. Because, like, after all, it's just you can change your emotions, right? So, what can I do about the fact that I'm just not happy with this performance, and trying to convince me to be proud of myself is just a little bit annoying because like I can't change the fact. I can change how I feel.
Yeah. And on that, does that kind of, that second option there, that is pretty cool. The fact that, a competition like that and you feel as though, you wanted to do more. Does that kind of fill you with excitement for the rest of the year, or give you motivation or fire to be like, right, actually, if people think this cool, just stay tuned and wait and see what I can do. Does that kind of give you excitement for the rest of the year for that?
Yeah, for sure. And going back because I only answered one of your questions
Yeah.
and you've asked two. So there was a little bit of celebration. We of course had the banquet the day after. There were some drinks, just like sitting in the hotel lobby and talking to others. But I also started training the day after,
Oh,
straight
no
to the
way.
gym. Yeah, really. And usually after comps, I will give myself like a week of counting calories and just like eating whatever I want, doing whatever I want. But the longer I do this, the harder it is for me to go off my routine for this long.
Ah,
So
okay.
this time, I think after 3 days, I was back to my routine with sleep, with diet, with training. And it's at the same time, I like this about myself that I can just be this, locked in all the time, but at the same time, sometimes I wish I could do something just for fun, but I just can't allow myself to do this because I feel guilty and it's just kind of a double-edged sword, I would say.
Yeah. And is that because with that, it's kind of that thing of, um, obviously, like you enjoy you love powerlifting. Did it feel like, oh, I'm going back to the routine, or actually, especially after Sheffield, did you feel as though, right, on to the next thing? This is exciting to build from there to get with that routine.
Definitely the second one. I like having this routine and just like living like that, just eat, sleep, train, repeat, and it feels good, but just sometimes I wish I could go off diet or something because I'm a little bit worried that if I do this for too long without taking ever a break, I could get burned out,
Yeah,
and I don't obviously want this to happen. So
yeah,
I've agreed to go on family vacation, and I already regret it because I know sleep won't be optimal, diet won't be optimal. I probably will miss some training sessions, but I told myself that in the long run, it's probably better for both my mental and physical health, and
yeah.
yeah, just
And
trying to balance things out.
Yeah. And with that as well, because obviously a big thing that you've spoken about is that kind of attention to detail, that routine. Do you think that the fact that you do think about, what's going to happen when you go on holiday, when you in terms of the routine or anything that's gonna affect that, do you think that that's something that you've got better at in terms of, taking into account these I don't want to say obstacles, but maybe just like adjustments to your routine. And do you feel like you've got better at managing that, or kind of accepting that these things are going to happen, or is that something that you're always kind of working on?
I would say over the last 2 years, I've grown a lot as an athlete, and yeah, you know, powerlifters sometimes don't really act like they're athletes. They just treat this as a hobby, as a side thing, and we're starting to see a lot of lifters change how they approach the sport and just treat it much more professionally. And I think that's a good thing. And I can see a lot of growth over the past 2 or 3 years in myself as well, just like trying to work around those different things that happen and communicating with my coach that hey, I might miss a session. Should I do this on another day, or should I just like accept the fact and just trying to fit training in what as just to make it as optimal as possible. That's really great, but of course there's more room for improvement as always.
Yeah. And with that, because well, kind of two. I'm throwing out two questions every time here, but with that, from and this is something that I've actually spoken a lot about with coaches, because I work with a lot of people who work in like team sports, like rugby league, also in terms of like people who compete in CrossFit, but also, powerlifting. Sometimes it was a case of, kind of eat what you want, just lift heavy and then go to the competition. Whereas exactly like what you've said, a lot more people are getting more professional is or acting more professional. Do you think we're seeing that in how competitions are ran and delivered and making it into a spot? Because you look at like CrossFit and weightlifting, even strongman, they're on TV, they're big shows, big events. Have you kind of seen that in not just Sheffield but other competitions as well that you've been to, that powerlifting is going down that route a little bit more?
Yeah, I would say yes. So my first Worlds was in 2021, where I competed as a junior, and that was, I believe, the last year when junior and open Worlds were combined into one competition. And the jump from that to open Worlds in 2022 was huge. And it's just like it feels like it's getting better and better every year. And I feel like Sheffield is playing a big part in that because it shows that you can make competitions more interesting to watch, more like, professional. And I feel like that might affect how people look at it and also gives people more opportunities because there's money prizes now. So you can put more effort and money and time into powerlifting. Like for me, it's my job. So I can be very professional about it because that's how I earn money. So I just treat it like a job.
Yeah.
And that's definitely gonna impact powerlifting a lot. And yeah.
Yeah, and as well, because ultimately, people get involved in powerlifting or sport because it starts off as a hobby, whereas, especially the level that you're competing at, you know, it has to be that detail, that professionalism that you need to have, and I suppose touching on that side of things, because, in terms of like what you've said there, in terms of on the day, looking at what people are lifting, the plan going into it, your routine, your schedule, h- how much more detail or precision, if you like, can you look at? Are you always looking at those like 1%, or is it just a case of like everything is at a level where you want that now, and it's just managing, like what we mentioned earlier, just managing the adjustments in your schedule? Because it's when you're looking at that elite level of performance, it's those 1% here or there that ultimately are going to get you over the line a little bit more. Are there areas that you're looking at to think, right, okay, this is what I could do better, or this, or is that just a constant communication with you and your coach, to keep progressing?
Hmm. Yeah, so of course I'm looking for things where I can still improve, even if it's really small, like uh, I don't know, sleep hygiene. There's always something that you can do better, like putting your phone away earlier, drinking caffeine earlier, or like just taking less caffeine. And there's always things I'm trying to look for things where I can still improve because my routine is already, I would say, pretty good, but I believe there's things I can do better. And like right now, I started working with Kedrick for my nutrition because I always took care of that myself. And I believe there's room for improvement in that as well. And yeah, communicating with my coach, I'm trying to do that as well as I can because well, I lift 7 times a week, so it's really important to tell him how I feel and how well I'm recovered and all of that because of course it's a lot of volume, a lot of frequency.
Yeah. Yeah. And how have you found working with a coach with your nutrition as something new? Because like what we mentioned earlier about your routine, that's something new that you've got to fit into your routine. So how have you found that, especially when you've done your nutrition yourself, for quite a long time?
So we've just started last week, I believe. So for now, I'm just filling out a Google spreadsheet
Ah,
for him to like so that he can get an idea of what my macros are and how I spread it out throughout the day and just get the general idea of how I do things. And yeah, then I believe he will just give me advice and we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
okay. Sorry, I thought you'd been working with that longer. How did you find putting everything down from there? Because have you got banks of data from nutrition that you've logged or anything?
What? Can you repeat?
So, in terms of you doing your own nutrition, is that quite detailed information that you've sent over? Because I can imagine if you've done that for yourself for a while, you've got quite a lot of information and ultimately, it's worked in the past. So yeah, was there quite a lot of information to put down there?
So for now, I'm just like breaking down my meals into macros and putting my steps in and just like uh, yeah. So, anyways, I just put how my I don't know what to say. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's not that much info for me. It's just like filling out the spreadsheet, which I like doing. So I just do it in the morning,
Yeah, yeah,
even though some things should be filled out in the evening. I just start very early because it's just I don't know, it's like doing that.
yeah. Cool. Because looking at those things, building forward. Now, Sheffield has been, a few weeks now. What's kind of, especially now, working with Kedrick for nutrition. What's kind of the goal going forward? And I remember speaking to you about this last time we spoke, and you've done what you've said. There's talk about going up, down, weight classes. What's kind of the plan going forward, especially after Sheffield and wanting to the goals that you mentioned when we last spoke.
So I've actually asked Kedrick to work with him because I'm planning to cut down to 63 for one comp this year. And I thought that that might get pretty hard. So I just wanted someone to make it easier, make this whole process easier. So the plan is to cut down for Euro Muscle Show, which is like a junior competition at Fitness Expo in Netherlands. which takes place in July. But the thing is, I'm not 100% sure yet if powerlifting will be there again this year because apparently there's some issues with that.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see. If it takes place, I will try to cut down to 63 for that meet, just to like, take some more world records. And for the Worlds and World Games, I'm planning to be a light 69 because I will be cutting down. So of course, I will probably be sitting at around 65, 66 kilos. And then for next year, right after World Games, I'm going to start bulking to compete as a 76 at next year's Sheffield, then 84 at Worlds, and 76 again for the second Sheffield next year.
Yeah, nice. Because that looks quite, planned out, and going back to what we spoke about earlier about, your love of powerlifting, not wanting to get, burnt out, or not maybe and enjoy it anymore. When you're looking at these things and everything that you've listed, like what you've said there, you want to drop down, get some more world records. Is that is that you wanting to kind of cement yourself as, one of the all-time greats, or a little bit like when we spoke earlier about challenges, is this kind of like fun for you setting these challenges and seeing what you can do? Because you mentioned earlier, you preferred the second answer of disappointed at Sheffield. It's actually quite cool that you're disappointed at such a big event. Is it, are you thinking about a long-term legacy, or is it a case of you're setting these small, not small challenges, but you're setting these challenges throughout the next couple of years for something fun to do, to be like, all right, cool, let's see what I can do at this. What's kind of your take on that?
It's definitely a combination of both because, you know, how do you write your name in history of a sport? You just gotta do some crazy things. And I feel like trying to get world record total in 4 different weight classes would be pretty damn cool and pretty damn crazy. So that's definitely one thing. And yeah, it's just fun, you know. It started as a little bit of a joke for me, and now it's just turning into this whole big plan. So I just like setting those little challenges for myself and like those little side quests to keep me entertained. Because to be honest, there's not really much competition in my weight class right now.
That could have just been like a mic drop then, and just like, yeah, and because with that as well, I think that's pretty cool. Being it's like with anything, creating a legacy, setting challenges. That's what keeps it, and that's what keeps it entertaining. I think what I really like to see, and what you said about there, is like you're still keeping it fun. You're keeping that routine to be like, and ultimately, I literally said this in the gym a couple of weeks ago. People want to get strong, whether it be people doing their first powerlifting competition, or at the elite level that you're at, because it's cool to lift certain weights at a certain body weight. Like, it's cool. It's quite badass to be like, yeah, actually, I've lifted this weight at this. I hold a world record here. Like, it's pretty cool. One thing that I would maybe want to touch on is, you said earlier about pressure, and felt as though maybe pretty grounded going into it with all these kind of challenges upcoming, wanting to make sure that you're not getting burnt out. Is there any How do you kind of keep yourself quite grounded, and not kind of think about maybe the pressure from like the powerlifting world for you to deliver? Is that something you think about? Are you quite good at blocking it out? Or, is it kind of your um, support network that kind of keeps you grounded and focused on the goal, if that makes sense?
I feel like the biggest pressure is coming from myself because, you know, people look at my performances and they think that it's crazy and all of those stuff. And I don't really feel a lot of pressure from outside because people already think that I'm doing insane things. And, you know, I don't really feel a lot of pressure. I like listening to podcasts and hearing what people say because it can sometimes fuel you for your session when you hear someone say something and you get mad, like, okay, this is what you think I can do. I'm going to show you, but it's I haven't had that in a while because I've been so somewhat winning a lot recently, and so the biggest pressure that I feel is put on me by myself because I just create this number in my head that I want to hit at a sitcom. And if I'm not close to it, then I start feeling super disappointed with myself, even though you can't really force your body to progress, you just
Yeah.
gotta show up and take what's there. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't feel the need to be grounded because I don't really feel any pressure from outside.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it because again, relating it to other sports, because especially, powerlifting as a sport is growing year on year. The presence of social media, is especially within the powerlifting world is growing and growing. And interesting that you said there about listening to other podcasts. Everybody now has a platform to give an opinion. And I like the fact that you mentioned there you can kind of use it as fuel for the fire, whereas sometimes I think it can be off-putting, but especially from like your side of things, if the pressure is coming from yourself, do you kind of keep that to yourself, or do you have, whether it your coach or somebody else, where you kind of talk about how you're feeling going into training or competitions, or do you kind of, manage that internal pressure from yourself, if that makes sense.
I definitely complain a lot, both to my coach and my boyfriend, and they're sometimes so done with me because like I might have uh, an objectively good session, but then I'm just like, okay, but I didn't hit what I want or it didn't move as fast as I wanted, and I just complain about it the whole week, and might it must be pretty damn annoying, but that's just how I deal with it because there's a lot of emotions because you put so much effort, so much time into this, and when you don't get the results that you expect, of course you're gonna be angry, frustrated, sad, and that's just how I like to deal with it. Just complain and
Yeah.
say that it's shit.
Yeah. And with that, when because interestingly, again, had conversations about like emotions in the gym, and sometimes that can be detrimental. Sometimes, if you're sometimes too hyped or not hyped enough, that can impact it. Because you've said there about, and we've spoken a lot about, that routine, that detail after that session, if you are disappointed of what if you didn't move fast enough or wasn't the weight that you hit, when you actually look at it, maybe logically, and take emotion out of it, do you sometimes come round to the fact that, oh well, actually in the bigger picture it wasn't that bad? Have you Is that something that you've always done, or is that something that you're trying to get better at? How do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, I can cry at the gym because the boys didn't move the way I wanted, and then go back home and be like, okay, actually, it wasn't that bad. So, like, yeah, having people around me who will remind me that, okay, this is actually good. Look at the prep for this meet. You hit this weight, so it's actually better this time. And, having someone to like remind me that it's that all it's not over
Yeah,
because I had one bad session. It's definitely helpful, and I feel like I've gotten better at it over the years. But at the same time, the more I do the sport and the more time I put into it, the bigger the emotions are. So I feel like I used to not care that much about it, and as time goes by, I just care more and more. So at the same time, I feel like I've gotten better at dealing with those emotions, but these emotions are just getting bigger and stronger.
yeah. And especially like what you said about the goals that you've got, and building towards those. There's that excitement building, building towards them. I think, looking at that, again, I think I said this last time that we spoke, but excited to see, how you build, how you build from there. I think, the last couple of questions that I had in mind was, there was talk about, although, dropping down a weight, increasing a weight. Which one are you kind of looking more forward to? Because like dropping down, there's always that thing of, will strength, drop down? Obviously, you're going to be eating a little bit less. Because I like my food, I think, increasing a weight class, even though, eating more food is challenging. Do you have one that you're looking more forward to than the other, or is it just kind of aiming for that first one and then moving on to the next challenge within that bigger plan?
I'm definitely looking forward to going up weight class more because I've been cutting for the past 7 months, I think, to go down to 69. And just the thought of going down even more and cutting for another half a year, it doesn't sound super exciting to me. And I'm definitely looking forward to finally going up. And that's the thought that like keeps me going on my path, just like thinking about all the food I'm gonna eat when I go up. Because I love eating food and I love the feeling of being so full that you can't eat anything more. I just love being in that state, and I've never bulked for so long that it started becoming annoying to me. So I'm excited to push myself and see how much I can eat. Because last year, when I was going up to 76s after Sheffield, I ended up eating 4,000 calories at the peak of my bulk. So that was pretty great, and I'm looking forward to see what my calories are going to be this time.
Nice. What's your go-to meal then when you're bulking?
I would say I eat pretty much the same things, but just bigger portions.
Ah,
Although I might cut out potatoes because those are pretty like high in volume. But I'll definitely go back to eating grilled cheese for breakfast because that's something that I don't really do while cutting because it's low volume, high calories, and I'm excited to eat that again.
nice. I think we've covered quite a lot of topics there, and for what I would like to say from the records that you're breaking and the performances that you're breaking, there's a lot of lifters that I coach myself and speak to that look at you as a great role model for the sport and someone to look up to be strong and push kind of those boundaries a little bit. And I know we've spoken about detail, routine, pressure. The last question, Agata, for everyone listening, what would be your take-home points or words of wisdom from what we've chatted about today?
Hmm. I would say the one thing that I can always tell people is just be consistent with what you're doing because if you want to make some changes in your routine and you only stick to it for a week, it's not gonna help. So probably just take small steps. Don't try to change too much at once and just slowly build that routine of a real athlete. So, getting 8 to 10 hours of high quality sleep every day, getting your steps in, caring about your diet, protein intake, clean foods, low processed foods, and just do your program consistently and you'll definitely see results after a while of doing that.
And then that all leads to doing crazy, insane stuff like you.
If you have the genetics, then yeah.
No, thanks a lot, Agata, for taking the time to jump on. Like I say, it was awesome speaking to you last time after Sheffield. Great speaking with you again. It's been awesome, watching you. It was just a shame it wasn't there in person this year. But if anyone wants to see the content that you put out there, or maybe reach out to you and ask you any questions, where could people find you, Agata?
On Instagram, my handle is gata floor. Sitko. I think it would be easier if you just tag me because for the Polish listeners might be hard to remember.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But no, I've really, really enjoyed chatting with you today. I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple of years to see what you can do. Because, like I say, it's been awesome seeing what you've done recently. So, thanks a lot for taking the time to jump on. Thanks a lot to
Thank
everyone
you.
listening, and I will see you all next week.